All right, you guys, we are talking making connections. All right, and that's why with you I have shared this screen. This is called your Reader's Response Notebook. This is where you're supposed to be writing about noticings and deepening your opinions and making reading meaningful and making it personal to you. One of these ways is by making connections. We can make connections in so many different ways, okay? You can make connections by thinking about how it relates to you, and that would be text to self. So how is something that is happening in your book similar to something that you are doing or experiencing or feeling? You can make a text to world connection. So like, how is something that is happening to the book something that is the same as something in the world? Maybe not something you specifically have to do with, but in the world in a global sense, like it's happening in other places. Or you can make a connection, which is a text-to-text connection. So that would be like something in the book that you're reading is very similar to something in another book that you're reading. And you're like, oh, that happened in my other book before. And then that's going to be a text-to-text connection. Today we're doing a text-to-self connection. We're going to be looking at a character in the story. It can be any character. And you're going to be thinking about how you can relate to this character. So I am similar to the character blank, and that character, that blank there is who is that character, and because, and why you are similar. Now, when you write in your reader's response journal, you need to restate the question. So I am similar to the character. And in this story, what was our character's name? Do we remember? Do we even know yet? He had a nickname, Lolly. I am similar to the character Lolly because, and then we're going to see why we are similar to that character. Now, I've already said out loud, I said this yesterday, right? This story is not a story that is familiar to me in the sense that in the first chapter, we learned that Lolly lives in Harlem. He's 12 years old, and that Harlem has been divided into different territories, okay? And that crews, which are groups of people with a similar idea, mostly boys, sometimes there's females involved, are together for some kind of reason. Crews can be all sorts of different things. There's dance crews, there's rowing crews, right? Like it's like a team, but it can also be like a gang. Okay, and that's kind of a little bit more of what's happening in this story, where the different boroughs are divided up, the different streets, by different crews of people. And he talked a little bit about there being drug dealers, and right, he was chased down by boys that wanted his new sneakers. When we were talking about this yesterday, I very specifically told you, like, I am not a 12-year-old black boy living in Harlem, right? I'm never going to be a 12-year-old black boy living in Harlem in this lifetime. But I can get to know what that perspective is like, and I can understand him just because of my world knowledge. Now, do you think that just because I am not a 12-year-old black boy living in Harlem, running from people trying to steal my sneakers, that I cannot make any sort of connections to the character? I bet that I can still make connections. I'll bet you that I can come up with at least one thing when we're done with the next chapter that I'm going to read right now, that is going to be a connection to me and Lolly. Even though I am not a 12-year-old black boy living in Harlem.
What if I'm not a cat?
Then you would have to think about personality stuff or experiences that the cats have, right? You're going bigger. You got to stop thinking about the fact like, oh, well, I'm a girl. I'll never understand what he's going through. Because that's not the case. You can make connections. Oh, I'm not a cat. I wouldn't know what these cats that are personified will experience. It's just not the way it works. You can make connections.
Probably experience either death or killing another cat.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started on chapter 2 of our story, The Stars Beneath Our Feet, and it's written by David Barclay Moore. Okay. Chapter 2. I unlocked our front door and crept in, grabbing my shopping bag close to my chest. I snuck past Ma and Yvonne. They were busy cooking dinner for our Christmas Eve bash. I smelled Ma's famous roti and Yvonne's mac and cheese baking and that pointy smell of callaloo cooking on top of the stove. Ma yelled out, "Lolly, you back?" "Yeah." I shot straight for my bedroom and slammed the door. I can make a connection instantly right there of having come home. And in this case, he went out and bought them Christmas gifts, so he has Christmas gifts in his hands. Coming home and seeing my family doing things inside the living room or the kitchen, and me just trying to go to my bedroom really quick to tuck things away. Okay? I can make that connection. I've had that experience before. One thing about me, I love Legos. I may have been too old for them, but I had a million different Lego kits. Space ones, dinosaurs, trucks, and cars, all lining the walls of my bedroom on shelves. They used to get on Jermaine's nerves since I had so many of them, and me and him used to share our room. You guys, I love Legos. My house, we have tons of Legos. We have so many different Lego sets. I have space sets. I have Wonder Woman Lego sets. I have monster truck sets. I have Star Wars sets. And when we get done building one, we display it on a shelf. I can make that connection to Lolly. Look at that. I'm not even one page in, and I have made 2 different connections to Lolly. Even though I'm not a 12-year-old boy. They used to get on Jermaine's nerves since I had so many of them, and me and him used to share our bedroom. I used to share a bedroom with my sister. Now it's just me in here. Every time I walk into our room, I have to face Jermaine's empty twin bed, staring across from mine. Ooh, some clues. After getting the gift wrap out of my mother's bedroom, I plopped down on my bed and wrapped up the gifts I had just bought. Then I laid back and counted my Lego kits. Right now, I had 46 different ones, and tomorrow morning I would probably get some more. I took pride in closely following the blueprints for each kit. Everything I built was exactly how it appeared on the box. I shut my eyes. Our front door buzzed. Soon enough, I heard Ma answer it and caught her wishing Vega a Merry Christmas. His loud Dominican voice boomed back. Him and his family was flying to DR on Christmas Day tomorrow. My mother tried to sound interested. Vega always talked like he was outside, which was weird because when he played his musical instrument, he was real calm and quiet. My eyes still shut. I heard him bounce in through my bedroom door and plop down on Jermaine's old bed. He was quiet for a minute.
You never had real Legos. Your mom just got you Duplos.
My eyes still shut. I heard him bounce in through my bedroom door and plop down on Jermaine's old bed. He was quiet for a minute. I guess analyzing me. You ain't sleep? I heard him say loudly. Couldn't help laughing, so I opened my eyes. What up? He said, and then sang very sweetly, I'm dreaming of a black Christmas. I laughed again, but my laughs had been weird lately. The good feeling that usually came with them only lasted a second, and I fell right back to feeling all dark again. Vega knew this. He was my best friend. You think your ma got you that smartphone you wanted? He asked. I shrugged and rolled over on my side. She says it'd put me in danger. I pointed an imaginary gun at him and pulled the trigger. She don't want to paint a big target on her boy's chest. Yeah, Vega stood. He checked out the Rocky the Clown poster that hung on my wall. You think Benny Ratchpal II will buy it for you? He asked. I shrugged again. No telling with my daddy. Hey, is he rolling through tonight? You know how he feels about Ma and her friends? Vega nodded. Yeah. But how long her and Yvonne been dating? Long time, I answered. Casimiro Vega lived one floor above me with his parents and little sister Iris. They looked basically black, and you would think that they were until they opened their mouths to say something in Dominican or Spanish. His mother couldn't speak English too proper. They were all Dominicans with real dark skin. My own skin wasn't as dark as Vega's. Mine was reddish brown, and my cheekbones poked out a lot. I also had truly tiny eyes. I hated my eyes. They were almost slits. I narrowed my eyes even more as Vega studied one of my Lego kits on a shelf. He said, I got a gay aunt. We just found out. She just told my mother at Thanksgiving. Vega picked up a city bus. I always got nervous when somebody handled my Legos, but everybody knew already. She act like a dude, drives a big bus for the city. Vroom. Butch, I said, describing how she acted. Yeah, Vega agreed. He started giggling and almost dropped my Lego model. Man, I shouted, be careful. Ain't nobody gonna drop your stupid bus, he said, and he put it back on the shelf. He pointed towards my bulletin board with all my Lego blueprints. I could draw better blueprints than these. They should hire me, he said. Right, I said. I hope Daddy does roll through for Christmas. You just want him to bring you that phone, Vega shouted, laughing. I shook my head. I just want to see him. And right then, our doorbell rang again. I knew it was Daddy, and I jumped up to answer the door before Ma could. I thought that if she answered it and Daddy peeked in and saw her girlfriend in our kitchen cooking, he might turn right around and leave. So I ran to our front door, but there wasn't nobody there but our neighbor Steve. Now, I liked Steve Jenkins, don't get me wrong. He was tall and light-skinned and lived with my mom's right next door to us. Him and my brother, Jermaine, used to spend all their time together when they were little, like me and Vega, my mother said. That all changed when they turned 13. Jermaine went in one direction, staying out more, running the streets, and Steve went another way, spending more time in after school and art programs. Now Jermaine was gone, and Steve made movies. Now, last chapter, he kept talking about somebody being gone, remember? And we talked about that, and we had a little discussion about how we don't know what's going on, but there's clearly somebody missing from him. And I made a prediction that maybe somebody he was close to has died or was put in prison. As this chapter started, he started talking.
I'm guessing they were put in prison by racist cops.
It's a very, very good idea. He talked about his room that he used to share with his brother Jermaine, right? And then he talked about how Jermaine, like he didn't share the room anymore, but Jermaine's twin bed was still there. So I'm hypothesizing, I'm guessing, I am predicting that something might have happened to his brother Jermaine. And just now, some context clues is that just now he's talking about Jermaine's best friend Stephen and how when they turned 13, and he also talked about that around age 12 is when you started picking, like, are you going to be a part of a crew or not? And that Steve started going to after school programs and art programs. Yeah. And Jermaine started staying out and running the streets. Okay. So I don't know, but that's just something I'm thinking about. And now Jermaine was gone and Steve made movies. Well, he didn't really make movies, but he recorded the sound for movies and TV shows. I wouldn't mind doing something like that when I'm 20, working on movies. That'd be cool. I turn 13 next summer. So I got a minute. Steve came back to my bedroom, where Vega was shaking the big Christmas gift and had been sitting on Jermaine's bed the past week. A gift that I had hoped had come from Jermaine. Even though my brother was gone, lately I had started thinking, what if it was all a trick? What if my brother was hiding out somewhere, like supposedly dead rapper Tupac Shakur? Maybe him and Tupac were really chilling somewhere together. I smiled thinking about this. Steve scooped out all of my new Lego kits I'd built since he was last over. He studied them like he was trying to give them a grade. You'd make an excellent architect, Lolly, he finally said. You always follow your blueprints so exact. That's my thing, I said. I like them, to be just like the box. Steve picked up the same bus that Vega had almost let fall. This time I didn't feel so nervous. I knew he wouldn't drop it. He needs to come up with something new, Steve, Vega said. He should build a Lego zombie with somebody's eyeballs and human brains dripping out of its mouth. I sucked my teeth and held up one of my airplanes. It was dusty. I wish I'd cleaned my kits off before Steve had seen them. You know, Casimiro has a point, Steve said to me. He used Vega's first name, which he knew Vega hated. The only point Casimiro has is at the top of his head, I said. I watched Vega's face for him to react. He was frowning, but trying not to giggle. Not about that zombie garbage, lol, but about you making something new, Steve said. He dropped onto the bed next to Vega. Not many of us have rich imaginations, but you do. It's hard for most people to come up with and show any original ideas. Everybody consumes the same old TV shows, pics, and memes over and over, regurgitating the same ideas over and over. Regurgitating? Vega asked. Puking back up what you already ate, I said. Oh, said Vega, like zombies puking up brains. Steve went on. If you only expose yourself to whatever everybody else does, you'll never create anything new. I think that's what got your brother. He couldn't see any other way out of here besides dealing. Got caught up in that street lifestyle. like that shisty Rocket and all them. He reached into the plastic bag he'd been carrying. There's another clue. His brother was a drug dealer. He reached into the plastic bag he'd been carrying and flung me and Vega each a wrapped gift. I could tell they were books by the way they felt. Vega had thought the same thing by the disappointed look on his face. Casimiro, I brought your gift over here because I figured you'd be with your man, Steve said, cheering him up. Quit calling me Casimiro, Vega said, tearing open his gift. It was a paperback, one on violin technique for kids. This was a book Vega would actually read, I knew. He had been playing an instrument ever since the 4th grade, when his mother enrolled him in music class. My book was all about buildings and stuff, a pattern of architecture. It was a giant hardback filled with pictures of stuff famous architects had built from all over the world. It was funny because it wasn't something that I would have thought to ask for. But sitting there then in my room, it seemed like something I had been wanting. I just hadn't known that I wanted it. Okay. That is the end of chapter 2. We're going to keep working and reading. Now, our task today is to make a connection to this book and making a connection to the character. So I am similar to the character Lolly because I once had a friend, I once was given a gift that I didn't know I wanted. But it was perfect for me. My sister once gave me a book on growing herbs in the garden for tea. And I didn't know that was something that interested me until she got me that book. And I realized that that was really something that was just perfect for me. Okay. I have made a connection between the character Lolly and myself. Now, you could maybe make a connection to Vega or to Steve or to someone in your story. It does not have to be this, but I want you to use the sentence stem I gave you. I am similar to the character blank because blank. Fill in those blanks with stuff that you are connecting with about the story you're reading or about the stars beneath our feet. Okay, now that concludes